I have been married to my wife for 4 years. I have a biological daughter, Alma. She's a teen, and my stepdaughter, Sophia, is a pre-tween. Alma has become responsible for doing Sophia's hair as her part of house duties. The thing is, Sophia has long curly hair, and it requires a lot of work to get done, especially when she wants it done a certain way. Alma told us about how much of a struggle it is for her to keep doing Sophia's hair, especially in the morning when she has so much to get done but not enough time. Days ago, I came home from work and found out that Alma had cut most of Sophia's hair behind her back. Sophia was crying and my wife had lost it on Alma. I got involved and told my wife off to yell at Alma. She wanted me to punish her, but I said no. She said that it was appalling of me to not only side with Alma after cutting Sophia's hair, but then refuse to hold her accountable and to let her get away without consequences. I'm normally slow to anger, but this time I just couldn't help it. I started arguing back and told my wife that she was at fault for making Alma responsible for getting Sophia's hair done to begin with. She said that still cutting her hair was not acceptable, and now Sophia is feeling devastated and can no longer trust her stepsister, who didn't care about what she wanted and went ahead and cut her hair like it was some inconvenience to her. I refused to punish Alma and saw this as her final straw, but my wife said I should be happy now because she would never let Alma near Sophia again. She took Sophia and went to stay with my in-laws, saying she's expecting Alma to get punished for the awful thing she's done to her stepsister. Everyone is just mad, and I'm no longer sure who's right and who's wrong here. Alma said she was desperate. Everyone's the idiot here except Sophia. What is wrong with the entire pack of you people? Your wife needs to quit shoving her parenting duties onto Alma. Alma needs to not cut a child's hair against the child's will and without telling the parents, and she probably does need some basic consequences. But most importantly, how did you, Dad, let it get to this point? You knew it was happening. You knew your wife was outsourcing her parenting onto your teen daughter and that it was burdensome. Don't try to sound like you're a good parent here. Poor Sophia. Poor Alma. Why the heck aren't you brushing your stepdaughter's hair? You're blaming a high school student with enough on her plate. Be a man. Pick up a brush and take care of your stepdaughter yourself. The same goes for your wife. You allowed your wife to make your daughter the family hairdresser. If you had a backbone, you would have said something when this started. I also feel very sorry for the younger child who had her hair cut against her will. That's traumatic. However, while you both should have a serious talk with the old daughter about consent, you should also be listening to how unfair she feels her situation is regarding her own consent for the duties you placed on her. Don't put a kid in an unfair situation and expect them to act perfectly. She's a kid. I bet this is not the only area of her life in which you and her stepmother treat her as free childcare and labour. That makes me sick. Alma is nearly an adult. She should know better than this by now. The whole not my problem excuse just isn't going to fly with this one. So yes, she does suck for doing this, and this behaviour does require punishment. She cut the little stepsister's hair while she cried is not normal behaviour. Alma is a cruel, spiteful person, and she knows just how to play her dad to get out of being accountable. Alma is definitely out of line. She's old enough. Just because her dad is the bigger idiot in this situation does not absolve her of responsibility. My ex and I divorced 3 years ago. I thought everything was fine, but she raised the possibility of an open relationship, and I didn't want that. That was a deal-breaker for her because she says she's learned that she's non-monogamous by nature and felt stifled by not being able to express it. I offered to go to counselling with her about it, but I just don't want to be married to someone who isn't faithful. So we split up and the kids, 18 female and teen male now, did not take it well, especially my daughter. My ex insisted that we do not tell the kids about her being poly and that being the cause of the breakup because she wasn't ready to be out. So we had to couch the divorce as just not being happy or compatible with each other. My daughter has always been very sharp and she got stuck on the whys of the breakup because it didn't make sense to her. We put both kids in therapy and tried to keep the divorce as painless as possible, but my daughter took it hard and is an angrier person as a result, and it broke my heart. My ex has agreed not to expose the kids to her lifestyle until they're both 18 at least, but my daughter figured out that she was dating and their relationship has suffered. My daughter went to college this year, but I got a text from her a couple of weekends ago asking to come to my place for the weekend to talk about something, and of course I said yes. It turns out that her mom had posted about her situation and divorce in a poly group on Facebook, and someone sent my daughter a screenshot. My daughter asked if this was right and the real reason we got divorced. At this point, the cat is out, and I'm not going to lie to my kid's face, so I said yes. She had some follow-up questions about why we didn't tell the truth, etc. I asked her not to tell her brother due to our agreements, and she said no, he deserves to know what mom is really like. So, big mess. Both kids are angry with their mom and won't see or talk to her. My ex is losing her mind at me over it, and her family is angry because they think I caused it by not saying it was a hoax. I don't know who sent the screenshot or why, but they kicked over a major hornet's nest. I guess I broke the agreement. I just didn't want to lie to my kid with the evidence right on the table. Not the idiot. If your ex wanted to keep it a secret from the kids, she shouldn't have posted publicly about it. Instead, she told the whole world why you two split. Her judgment isn't very good. I wouldn't put much stock in her claims. This is entirely on her. You agreed not to tell the kids. You didn't. Your daughter found out and asked you if it was true. You never agreed to flat-out lie to your daughter's face and destroy her trust in you, also your ex could avoid blame. Everyone getting on your case about this can kick rocks for wanting you to hurt your daughter and your relationship with her. If your ex-wife was so stifled that she had to divorce you when she did, she was ready to be out. I don't mean that in a judgy way, but simply and practically, if your ex-wife was going to date others, she ran the very real risk of being outed by someone else, and that is exactly what happened. Instead of explaining her preference to your kids, she decided to hide it, which would do more damage to their relationship as she's finding out now. She had an opportunity to educate them on why she felt the need to leave, but wasted it. Not the idiot. You did the right thing for your daughter. Being a child of divorced parents, I know your daughter's situation very well. It's terrible when you know you aren't being told the real reason for the divorce and you know you're being lied to. It took me 20 years to find out the real reason, feeling all along that I wasn't being told the truth. It was a huge relief to finally know the truth. Glad your daughter figured it out sooner. My parents split custody. It's pretty random. Some days I'm home and sometimes I'm by my dad. I'm a teen female. Dad started dating Jane a while ago, maybe a year. She has a daughter Mandy that's a tween. Then they started spending a lot of time at my dad's. They have their own apartment, but they're still always by him. The first time they stayed over, somehow Mandy ended up in my bed when I was there. Her mom has this cot bed thing she brought by my dad's for her, but somehow I woke up in the middle of the night and she was in my bed. I kicked her out. Then my dad and Jane said, that was mean, and I have a full anyway, so I should share. There's other stuff. I have a chair in my dad's living room I got as a gift. It's comfy, and when I move out, it'll go with me. Well, Mandy always wants to race for the chair. Even when I win the race, my dad makes me let her sit in it because they're guests. So I end up sitting on the floor because my dad has a recliner and Jane lays across the couch. So I stay in my room instead. My dad's tried to get me to come out by them, but why would I when I have to sit on the floor like a dog? He keeps saying, I'm being a difficult teenager. That's not it, though. One day, my mom and I went and did some stuff before she dropped me off. She'd bought me a blanket with my favourite team's logo on it. I was excited to sleep with it. Stupid, I know, so she let me take it by my dad's. My dad made me share it with Mandy because it wasn't fair that I got something and Mandy didn't. It's not just the blanket it's happened with, it's anything that I have to share. But if Mandy has something I'd like to use, he tells me it's hers, and if she doesn't want to let me, she doesn't have to. One time, Mandy was reading one of my books and Jane and my dad started fighting. Jane wanted to leave, so Mandy wanted to take my book, but I said no, so she wouldn't leave. Finally, my dad yelled at me to just let her have it. They made up, so I got it back, but I would have lost one of my favourite books if they didn't. My dad and I had plans to go ice fishing, just him and I, something we've done since I was 7. Well, he brought Jane and Mandy along. All they did was complain. It's too cold, fish are gross, this is boring. So we left early. He said, sometimes you have to compromise. When I got home, I was mad. My mom was annoyed and called him and they argued, and he talked to me and repeated his compromising crap. I was supposed to go back by him a few days later, but decided I didn't want to. I never even spend time with just him anymore, so what's the point in going there? I told my mom, she said it was my choice. So we told him, he said, I'm just used to being an only child, and I can't be spoiled my whole life, and I can't run away whenever there's a problem. Well, since then, his family have been trying to get me to go back too. Am I the idiot for not visiting my dad anymore? Not the idiot at all. Your dad prioritizes his new girlfriend and her daughter over your needs and wants. Mandy wants something? She gets it. Your chair? Mandy gets it. Your book? Mandy gets it. Your new blanket? Mandy gets it. Your dad and Jane enable the behavior, and your dad's choices have shown you he doesn't prioritize your relationship with him. I wouldn't want to go somewhere where I'm made to feel like a second-class citizen. Send him exactly what you've written here when your dad asks why you don't want to go over anymore. I'm so glad your mom supports you and stands up for you. Absolutely not the idiot. Your dad is sacrificing your privacy and belongings just to make sure he keeps getting laid by keeping his girlfriend's daughter spoiled. Ask him what he thinks the family court judge would say if presented the facts. He lets his girlfriend's daughter take my belongings. He encourages her to climb into bed with me. I have no expectation of privacy or security there. I feel both unsafe and unwanted in the circumstances, and I do not want to go to his house anymore. Share the bed, share the blanket. Jane can't just sit on the couch to make room. It's excessive. Honestly, it sounds like Jane is trying to push OP out so she and Mandy are number one. Dad seems happy to start fresh with Jane and Mandy. There's a compromise, but this is over the top and Dad needs to learn to compromise. He fears losing them when they want to prioritize Mandy, so he does whatever they want and calls OP spoiled for rightfully pushing back and threatening everything. I have two sons, Robert, who's 24, and Michael, who's 23. Robert is older by 10 months. My question is about a situation with Michael's car insurance. Michael was involved in a car accident. He was stopped at a red light. I'm not excusing Michael or saying he isn't at fault. It was 100% his fault. The car next to him started to proceed, and Michael believed the light was green and proceeded even though he didn't have the green light. There was an accident. Michael and the drivers of the other vehicles were injured. Michael's legal issues are taken care of. He paid his fine and is working on paying the judgments from the lawsuits. He's regained his license after the suspension but cannot afford any insurance on his own. My wife and I are retired and we rely on public transport and our golf cart. We've asked Robert to put Michael on his insurance and ownership of his truck. We will pay Michael's portion of the insurance and ownership. Robert would not be responsible. My wife and I would pay for any other costs if Michael couldn't afford it. Robert wouldn't have to pay a dime, but he still balked at our request. He isn't happy and was short with my wife the last time she called him. I could understand if we asked Robert to pay for Michael, but we would never ask him to do that. We just want Robert to assist Michael so he may eventually regain insurance on his own. You are the idiot. Having his brother on his insurance will ramp up his own cost, making the pair of them hideously uninsurable, and the good driver will be linked to the one that crashed forevermore. And nominating someone else as part owner of his vehicle? Sorry, your plan is way out of line. If you want to pay for Robert, pay for his own insurance and vehicle. Don't drag one brother into the other's mess. Putting Michael on Robert's insurance will not only affect his rates, those you're willing to absorb, it will also make him liable for any future accidents Michael might get involved in, as well as forever stay on his record as he will be linked with a bad driver for all the future insurance companies. That way, even when Michael will finally be able to afford insurance and Robert can take him off his own, Robert would still be screwed. Also, if Michael is ever involved in any other accidents, Robert is double screwed and will have a black mark on his record as a primary insurance holder. So yes, you are putting Robert into a bad spot with this request. You are the idiot. Insurance doesn't care if one party is responsible and the other isn't. One plan, one screw over for everyone. How I know? I was on family plan insurance with my folks and younger brother, the world's most irresponsible driver. Because of him, the insurance company dropped the whole family. He still drives like an idiot, but the only insurance that suffers now is his and his wife's. Don't saddle one son with another son's irresponsible driving, especially since it seems like you're leaving out details, e.g. why was son's license suspended for a single accident. 100% agree with you. Michael is going to have more collisions. I've never heard of a driver's license being suspended for a first collision either. There is a thick tome of Michael's transgressions the OP is not fessing up to. My husband and I went to school together and his sister, Mary, was a few years above us. Mary was a horrible bully who practically ran the school and made life a nightmare for a lot of girls. It was serious enough that my husband later told me that their parents had to pay teachers and victims' parents a lot of money to keep quiet. Mary has done quite well for herself since school. She owns quite a big insurance firm, which makes her a lot of money. She isn't a particularly nice person now, but I've always tolerated her for my husband's sake. Mary came by yesterday to speak to my husband about something. She's very stylish and is always dressed in that immaculate chic style. She wore heels, but as always took them off at our door because we have a shoes-off rule. We have a 15-year-old daughter, Anna, who is also going through a fashion phase. When Mary was starting to head off, we saw her in the hallway trying on Mary's designer heels. Mary demanded she remove them, and Anna immediately did and said sorry. I told Anna she shouldn't try on people's things without asking, but Mary said a lot more. She started shouting, "Who do you think you are?" and berated Anna for a good few minutes, including saying Anna shouldn't touch what she couldn't afford. Anna burst into tears and ran upstairs. What Anna did wasn't right, but Mary didn't need to cruelly berate her to tears like that. I said to Mary that what she said was disgusting and that she obviously hasn't changed since the day she tormented people at school. Mary put her shoes back on and left. My husband said the school comment was too far. I don't think it was. I understand why Mary was so angry. She's always been very protective over her precious clothes, and those shoes were not cheap at all. But even so, Anna took them off immediately and apologized. She used a teenage girl's silliness as an excuse to bully and intimidate her. She's a disgusting person, and I'm sick of my husband making excuses for her. Am I the idiot? Absolutely, you are the idiot for letting it get that far. How do you let someone abuse your child like that in your presence? How did you get more than one sentence into that rant without you shouting her down and telling her that under no circumstances will she speak to your daughter like that? Do better. I think boundaries should have been set with sister-in-law a lot earlier, but family is complicated. Mary sounds like a nightmare by any metric. It also sounds like OP historically prioritized diplomacy over everything else with her. Good on OP for finally standing up for her daughter in that moment. Time to get hubby in line too. Absolutely 100% not the idiot in my opinion. I disagree. Everyone's the idiot. Mary clearly was an idiot for unloading on your daughter like that. You and your husband, on the other hand, let her berate your daughter. Your daughter is 15 and still touches other people's stuff without asking first. Apparently there's still a need for parenting and guidance here, which is also on you.